I'm Brandy. Standing in my backyard, surrounded by the warm glow of my new home and the sweet smell of grilled peaches, I can't help but think about how far I've come. It was just a few months ago that I was on the receiving end of a series of desperate calls and texts from my family, trying to drag me back into a life I'd left behind. 6 months ago, I moved to Oregon without a single word to my parents. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. I'd been planning this escape for years. I remember that last day in San Francisco so vividly. The sun was beating down, and I was sweating as I taped up the last of the boxes. My friends, Leo and Ava, were there to help. Leo grunted as he lifted a heavy crate of books, while Ava used her knee to fold down the flaps of my suitcase. Our small 2-bedroom apartment was almost empty, just a few stacks of cardboard and an old coffee table I'd decided to leave behind. "Are you sure you don't want to tell them?" Ava asked, wiping the sweat from her forehead. "Just a quick text?" I looked up from labeling a box marked Office Donate. "They haven't asked about my life in years. Why would I tell them I'm leaving?" I replied. Leo just shook his head and muttered, "This is crazy." But for me, it was the most rational thing I'd ever done. I'd always been the invisible child in my family. My brother Ethan was the golden boy. He could do no wrong, and my parents doted on him. When I was 10, I got straight A's on my report card. I was so excited to show my mom. I placed it right in the middle of the kitchen table, knowing she'd see it when she came in for breakfast. She glanced at it and said, "Good job, dear," without even looking up from her newspaper. That same week, Ethan got a B on a math test, and my parents took him out for ice cream to cheer him up. As I got older, I realized that I was on my own. By the time I was 18, I knew I'd be paying for college myself. I got a scholarship to a local university and took on 2 part-time jobs. I stopped going home for holidays because it was just too painful to be ignored. After graduation, I landed a job at a tech startup in Seattle. I worked hard, and my career took off. I had my own savings account with over $100,000, and I was thinking about buying a house. My new apartment in Oregon was simple but mine. It had a small kitchen, a cozy living room, and a balcony with a view of the forest. I decorated it with my own photos and plants, and for the first time in my life, I felt at peace. Leo and Ava visited every other weekend, and my grandmother, Mildred, called me every week. She was the only one in my family who truly cared about me. Then, one day, the phone rang. It was my father, Henry. His voice was cold and demanding. "You need to come home next weekend," he said. I didn't even bother to ask why. I told him I had plans and hung up. But he didn't give up. The next few days were filled with missed calls, texts, and emails. My mother, Victoria, called me, her voice full of false warmth. "Sweetheart, this is important for Ethan. His fiancé's parents are very traditional. We need to show a united front." I laughed. "Unity? You mean the kind of unity that only matters when there are guests?" "I'm not coming," I said firmly. Ethan called me too, sounding confused. "Brandy, I don't understand what's going on. Can't you just come for me?" But I remembered all the times he'd let me be overlooked, and I said no. My father called again, this time threatening to cut me out of the will. I just calmly replied, "I make more money than all of you combined. I don't need your money." He was silent for a moment, then hung up. The wedding day came and went without me. I spent the day hiking in the mountains, breathing in the fresh air and enjoying the silence. When I got home that evening, there was a missed call from Mildred. I called her back right away. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. The wedding was tense. "Your parents tried to keep it together, but Ethan's fiancé's mother kept asking where you were. They told her all sorts of lies, but she didn't believe them. Ethan looked distracted all night, and his fiancée was clearly upset." I listened, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. It was as if the truth was finally catching up with them. They still think this is about a dinner party, I said. But Ethan's fiancée's parents saw the real us, the imbalance, the damage. A week after the wedding, Mildred called again. They're still talking about it. Ethan's fiancée's parents are asking a lot of questions. Your parents are starting to panic. They're trying to find out where you are. I wasn't surprised. They're worried about damage control, not about me, I said. Mildred agreed. They're starting to realize that the way they treated you has consequences. One day, I found an envelope in my mailbox. It was from my father. I didn't even open it. I walked straight to the fire pit in my backyard and burned it. I didn't need to read his words. I already knew what they would say. The next morning, I signed the final paperwork for my new house. It was a 3-bedroom house with a garden, and it was all mine. Leo and Ava texted me about coming to visit and helping me plant flowers. I also registered for a graduate course in data analytics. I was finally free to do what I wanted. I changed my phone number, giving it only to Mildred, Leo, Ava, and my boss. I didn't want any more surprise calls or texts from my family. My life in Oregon was quiet and peaceful. 6 months later, as I stand in my backyard, surrounded by friends and the smell of good food, I look around and smile. I've built a new life for myself, a life where I'm seen and valued. When someone asks me if I have family back east, I don't hesitate. Not anymore, I say. But I have this, I add, gesturing to the people around me. And I mean it. This is my family now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.